Okay, folks, for this screencast, we're going to do some XLS read and write. So everybody makes Excel spreadsheets. It's an extremely popular program, but sometimes you want to analyze data on the computer. So I'm going to open a spreadsheet here. I'm using LibreOffice, but it really doesn't matter. So I'm going to just make some data here. This plus 0.1. I'm going to do just a stupid amount of data points. It doesn't really matter. And then I guess I'm going to do, I don't know, 5 times sine of 0.5 times this, like that. Why not? Just because I can. Bring it down here. Okay, so there's my data set. Now, obviously, here I could just copy all this and then plot it in Excel, but say I want to do some fancy stuff like Newton Raphson or Gaussian elimination or something, and so I want to read it in MATLAB. So I'm going to save this into my working MATLAB directory here. So what am I'm going to call this the example sign.xls, and obviously I'm going to save it as an XLS. I'm going to close that out. So if I look at my folder here, I've got my example sign XLS. So if you watch my DLM read video, getting the XLS read to work is really easy. Data equals XLS read, and the file name was example sign.xls. I'm going to put this over here and this over here, and I'm going to run this, and I should get all of my data like that. Now Linux is going to throw me a warning and say, like, hey, we can't start the Excel server, basic mode will be used, and that's just because I'm running Linux and I don't actually have Excel on my computer. If you have Excel on your computer, this will work just fine. So this is great because now I can just say that time equals data all comma 1, and then or maybe I just say x, and then y is data of all comma 2, and then I can plot x comma y. And there's my sine wave, which is exactly what I was looking for. Now, again, I could have done that in Excel, but, whatever. There may be a time where you need to do that. Now, that's the easiest way to import an Excel spreadsheet. Now, the problem is that typically when people make Excel spreadsheets, they do things like this. Like, this is time in seconds, and this is, what is it? Y coordinate in meters. It doesn't really matter, and then they save it, right? And then I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to run the code again, and this might work, this might not. It looks like it did. But there may even be another situation where you say, okay, well, I'm going to have a z coordinate, or I'm going to have a, I don't know, I'm going to round my y coordinate like this, and then I'm going to say this is a round of that guy. No, man, this is a bad idea, having too many data points. You can just skip ahead. Okay, and then I'm going to do this weird thing where I don't know, I'm going to call it weird variable like this. And I'm going to say this is if this guy is greater than 3, give me an A. Otherwise, give me a B. I don't know. I'm a professor, so there might be a situation where I'm like, making some weird stuff here, or I'm doing like grading or something like that, right? So I've got A's and B's here in a sine wave. And I'm going to now X out of that guy and run this, and I'm trying to make a situation where this breaks. And so it looks like it's actually getting it just fine. But what still brings up a really big point here. So if you look at data, notice that data is only this data here. What if I grabbed this row and went down like halfway, did an insert row, and said that this was like, second half or something like that. So there was actually, text halfway in between my data like this, right? And so if I then tried to run, not what's new, get out of here. If I then tried to run this, notice that there's like a break right here. And if you look at my data stream, see that there's actually nans in here. So the code, so when you do xlsread, the code tries to do its best to grab all of the data in here so that nothing gets messed up. But in this case, because I had this weird line here, this whole data thing just kind of goofed up. So what I was always taught was you actually want to do this. You want to do data, text, and all. And so what xlsread is going to do is it's going to try to extract the data for you. It's going to try to extract the text for you, and then it's going to try and extract just everything. And so if I run this, now I've got a lot of different data streams. So let's take a look at this. So if I look at data, data is just MATLAB's best chance at trying to get all the data. It still couldn't figure out what to do with that one row, so it gave me a bunch of nans. If I type in text, if you look, text is here. Now this is pretty neat because if you want to use these as Y labels, so let's say I want to grab, I want to say X label of, I want to grab this guy here. Now what I need to do is I need to type in whose, and you have to look at the fact that text is actually a cell. And so I've never really gone over cells before, but basically a cell is, instead of a matrix of numbers, so data is a matrix of numbers, text is a matrix of cells. So what's a cell? Well, it can be anything. It can be a number, a character, or even a structure. It can be anything you want in that cell. And so if I want to grab the first element, the first row, the first column, I would just do text and then 1, 1. Now you notice that in order to extract a cell, you have to use these curly braces. So then I can do Y label and get text of row 1, 2, and that would be my Y coordinate. So when I ran this, look, here's time and here's Y coordinate. Now you might be like, okay, well, why would I want to do that? Well, if I go to Excel, right, and I change this and say, hey, you know what, this isn't time, this is actually X coordinate, right? And I just saved that. Well, notice that the code doesn't actually have X coordinate in here. It just references a cell. So if I run this one more time, boom, now here's X coordinate instead of time. So that's pretty neat. Maybe I want weird variable to be the title. So I do title, txt, row 1, comma, and what column is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's column 4. So I can do column 4, run that, and now I got weird variable as the title, right? Okay, so now let's look at all. So if I type in all, let me type in all again. All is literally every single thing in this data stream, right? So I've got the header, I've got all of this, and look, even this weird variable, it didn't actually read in that correctly, which is odd. And maybe that's just my computer. That's actually kind of annoying that it didn't bring that in properly. I'm curious why I didn't. Maybe because it's an if statement. Maybe it's because I have these quotations. Maybe if I get rid of these quotations. Nope, didn't like that. Okay, well, I don't know. This is an Excel spreadsheet that I just kind of just made on the fly. But anyway, so if you look at all, if I type in whose again, all is, again, a cell. So what if I want the entire first column here, right? How would I grab that from all? Well, what I could do is I could go back to the code and I could say, oh my goodness, hold on. Okay, sorry about that, I got a phone call in the middle. So where was I? So we are looking at all. So if I want to, instead of grabbing X from data, I can grab X from all, except now I have to use curly braces. And this may throw an error. This is, you know, cell arrays are kind of weird. It looks like there was a, so let's see, let's type in whose, what is X? X is a character. Okay, so then here's another weird thing. So it actually, if I type in all of 2, 1 and type in whose, let's see, answer is a double. Oh, okay, that's right. So I don't want all rows. So if I do all of all, 1, like that, the problem is that I have these random ones here. So really what I want is I want to start at row 2, go to the end. Start at row 2, go to the end, like that. and then it's still going to give me some problem. If I type in whose, x is a 1x1 double. That's interesting. Let me pause this for a second, see what's going on. Okay, so the reason why this didn't work is because this is actually a lot more complicated than I thought, but I think it's useful to go over this. So if I do x equals all comma 1, it actually only gives me the first row because it doesn't actually give me the entire column. Now instead of using curly braces, if I use parentheses, if I type in whose, it actually gave me the whole row, but now x is a cell, and that's not actually what I want. I wanted x to be a row. And so here's an interesting way where you can do a for loop here. So if I do r comma c is size of all, and run that, the number of rows is 253 and the number of columns is 4. Now the reason why I wanted to do that is because I want to make a matrix of zeros. That's the same number of rows as all, and then y is the same number of rows as all as well, like this. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do for idx is 1 to r, so I'm going to loop through the number of rows, and I'm actually going to say that x of idx is equal to all, and then I'm going to actually, rather than using the parentheses to just grab the cell, I'm going to use the curly braces and actually extract the data from the cell. So it's going to be all curly braces, the current row that I'm at, and then the first column. And then I'm going to do the same thing for y, like this. And so now, if I run that, let's see. So what is idx? Idx is 1, all of idx comma 1. So here's the problem. This is a string, right? So what I actually need to do is I need to make sure that the number that I'm reading in is not a string. So I need to say if, and I think is car? Yeah, so if I do if not is car, all of idx comma 1, do this. And then else, I'm going to do x of idx is, now this is going to, I'm going to use this number later on. I'm going to do negative 99, just because I know that the data cannot be this value. And then I'm going to do the same thing. If is car all idx comma 2, y idx is like that, else y of idx equals negative 99. And then I'm going to try and run that. And then there you go. So then now the data worked in here, but then there are these weird negative 99s here. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say x of x equal to negative 99 equals curly bracket like that, or empty bracket. So this essentially removes all of the negative 99s. And then y of y equal to negative 99 equals bracket like that. Run that. And there's my plot in all its glory, and there's no weird break here. Cool? So again, if you have a really, really, really easy Excel spreadsheet, everything is gravy. If you have a situation where your spreadsheet has like text embedded, you're going to have to do the data text all here, and then you're going to have to sort of extract all the data that you want so that it ignores, remember this ignores the text in the all variable, like that. Post in the comments if you have any questions. This is pretty difficult. I guess I forgot to go over the xlsread command, but that one's pretty easy. Help xlsread. I've only used this in a certain way, but Excel actually has like file, array, sheet, range. You can do all of these cool things. So if you want to write to a certain sheet or a certain range, and by the way, even the xlsread command, you can actually ask it the sheet and range. And so if you want to avoid the numeric text raw or data text all format, BS, and you just want to do the sheet and the range, you can actually do that. Now, unfortunately, I have a Linux computer, so I can't do that. And see, it says here, please note the full functionality of xlsread depends on the ability to start the Excel as a COM server for MATLAB. So since I have Linux, I can't do this. But if you have data in certain ranges, you can just tell the computer what range you want to import, and it'll actually import that, which is pretty useful. But if you want to just output the data here, you can just do xlswrite, and I'm going to go back over here, help xlswrite. And so basically we have the file, so I'm going to do out.xls, and then the array, so I'm going to do just x comma y and hit go here. Again, it couldn't do for export, so it'll attempt to write in CSV format. So that's just my computer just being lame because I have Linux, even though I think Linux is awesome. But it made this CSV file, so I can actually open this in Excel, just because that's how my computer works. And so here's all the data without any of this stuff. So if you notice, this was a pretty neat thing. I mean, here what all the data was formatted with, like all these headings and stuff, and here's just the raw data that you can use for Excel. Guess I'll save that. I guess that's it. I would recommend looking up like CSV read and CSV write. Those are similar commands to Excel. You can actually open this with a text file, this CSV file, so it doesn't actually have any Excel nastiness. So it's actually just like a comma deleted file. So you can actually import this file using DLM read if you wanted to, which is pretty neat. All right, I guess that's it. I will call it a day. This is a long video. Good luck.